Hello, everybody. This is Dfs Chan coming to you live on January 20th. I'm here to talk about tonight's League of Legends DFS slate. It's a 5-game slate, so let's get excited. We have a 3-game LPL night and then 2-game LCK night. So that's very exciting. So yeah, let's dive in. Real quick so that we can save some time and make this as short as we can. First matchup is Ultra Prime versus LGD. As you can see, I have posted the starting lineups here. Obviously, the LPL starters are confirmed and the LCK starters are expected. For this first matchup, though, Live Sandbox versus Guangdong Freaks, we're going to have a confirmed lineup, most likely at like 1 a.m. Eastern time. So look out for that. But let's talk about LPL first. Like I said, Ultra Prime versus LGD. They've been, both teams have been starting the same players, so there's not a roster change that we need to worry about here. I do think that LGD has been in terrible form. I know they have some potential to be pretty good. I mean, with Shadow and EG and Eric. And Fearness has been playing pretty well, but overall as a team, I have seen so many flaws the last couple of weeks. So I don't really like where LGD is at in terms of form. And then Ultra Prime has been playing pretty bad as well. Hacker crying is kind of being exposed by a lot of the mid laners because he's not surrounded by the talent that he had on RNG when he used to play last season. So now that he has to pull more weight on his plate, and it hasn't been working out for Ultra Prime. So yeah, I mean, I feel like this is a terrible matchup for both teams. I do think that Ultra Prime is gonna win, based on the form that LGD has been in, but I don't agree with these odds at minus 385. Let's look at what the odds are now, because these were the odds that I checked when I posted the starting lineups at 5 o'clock Eastern time. So it's been about a little over 5 hours. So I want to look at if the bets have been coming in on Ultra Prime and make this bigger favorite minus 385. So it's the same. And let's look at Ultra Prime versus LGD stats this season so far. 7 games played, 8 games played, so about the same. Jungle control percentage, LGD has been in advantage so far, so that's pretty good. I know Shadow, like I said, Shadow is a pretty good jungler. He probably decides he's probably gonna be a very big contributing factor if there were to win. Let's put it that way, because he can definitely carry a team, but in the recent games, he hasn't been the problem. It's really the other laners that have been losing, and in team fights, they're not a very good team fighting team. So, and then laning phase looks like Ultra Prime has a slight advantage. LGD has been playing better, looks like, just based on the metrics. So yeah, that's like I said. So I do think LGD has a good shot at upsetting Ultra Prime tonight. Obviously the odds disagree. So let's look at who they have played against so far. I want to see, maybe this is the best way to do that. Oh, actually I can do this here. All right. I want to see who Ultra Prime, why they're the big favorite here. They have played against EDG. Obviously, they are really good. EDG is. They took 1 game off of the series. That's pretty good. And 1 game off of Top Esports, but Top Esports drops a game here and there and lost 0 to the LGD. So yeah, I mean, they have 2 wins here, but it's in both lost series. So they're technically 0-3 in terms of like the team record. So That's surprising, actually, why Ultra Prime is such a big favorite. Because let's look at Ultra Prime's record. They had play against anyone's legend. I thought they looked pretty good in the first game. I mentioned this before, but then they have lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games in a row. They dropped the series against AL, like I said, against FPX. They're a good team. And JDG, yeah, that's surprising because JDG hasn't been playing well either. So let's look at, does it say what the record is? Or the YouTube? Okay, I don't want the YouTube. Let's look at what the score was of LGDs. It tells me here. Maybe I should just do this. Sorry, guys. LGD, JDG, I want to see it. Give it to me. Yes. All right. 25-8. Yeah, that's horrible. This was a close matchup though. 74K versus 73K. So I maybe think Shadow didn't play well in the first game. Anybody else play bad? Yeah, Jinja 0-8. Yeah, I do think they can pull it off. I mean, JDG had Kanavi who controlled the jungle. Ultra Prime, like I said, I'm not hugely worried about the jungler. Is it Hacker, I believe? Yeah, Hacker hasn't been that great. So yeah, I'm actually gonna say, based on what I have seen so far, LGD has a really good shot at upsetting. I'm gonna say prediction LGD wins 2-1, I think. Upsets. I like the underdog in LGD today. Let's, in terms of kill upside, it's gonna be pretty high at around 0.89. Average CKPN. So all right, let's look at RNG versus anyone's legend. RNG, huge favorite at -700. But they're playing against a pretty decent team in anyone's legend. Anyone's legend has not been playing that well. I think they looked a little better with Maple, in my opinion. Here and there, and only in certain spots. But RNG is coming into form, I think, with Ben in the top lane. I think they will eventually gel, obviously, and I think this is a good matchup for RNG. Let's look at some stats. Royal never give up. Anyone's legend. All right, so first let's look at the odds. RNG was at -700, -700. So all right, so it's the same. RNG is 5-3. Anyone's legend is 2-5. Jungle control percentage, RNG definitely an advantage. With Wei over Xiaohao. Xiaohao is pretty good though. So I'm surprised at that metric, 43. That's pretty low. RNG disadvantage in laning phase. That's surprising. And then everything else, oh, that's kind of even. Yeah, it's pretty close actually. But just, I don't know, just based on the roster, let's look at who they have played against again. I think that's important early in the season. RNG has played against FPX and they lost to FPX 2-1. And that FPX was pretty good, pretty damn good in that series. And they're pretty good. They're a good team. JDG, they won 2-1, which I thought they were coming alive in the, yeah, I mean, I think RNG is coming into form. I know they just play against Thundertalk. They're obviously the worst team in the LPL, but the fact that they beat JDG 2-1 in the third game, I like that they, yeah, I think this is a good matchup for RNG. Let's look at who anyone's legend has played. They play against, like I said, LGD, and they won the last 2 games in that series. So they won that series, and then they play against OMG, who has been playing well. Probably in the A tier the not an elite team, but great team. OMG is, I think, has been at least. I know they lost most recently, but OMG is a good team, so that's a pretty good loss. And then FPX good loss too. But I think it's gonna be a similar matchup as like FPX. I think lots of good talent. I think RNG should win here too. So I'm just gonna go prediction. RNG wins probably 2-0. Just based on the jungle control percentage. That's like really low. I want to see compared to like everybody else in the LPL, I want to see how low that is. That's the second lowest, right above Thundertalk. So yeah, but good thing their laning is really good. I mean, they are like second in laning, but laning against Bin, Xiaohu, and Galaming, maybe Bin and Xiaohu. I don't think they're gonna lose lanes. So I'm pretty confident that RNG will win the series. Average. Okay, let's see how fast they play. Ooh, RNG plays kind of slow, but so 0.8, I would say. Okay, so that's low. Okay, kind of low compared to like other LPL games. All right, let's look at the third matchup of the LPL slate, or third LPL match rather. Thundertalk versus Weibo Gaming. Thundertalk, like I said, has been the worst team. I don't even have to go through their roster because they're starting the exact same five. Unfortunately, they're not starting the Korean imports that they just signed. So I think New is probably, I mean, he's the veteran on that team. I think I was gonna say the Shy will shit on New, but I think New, yeah, I think the Shy will still shit on New. So, and then every other lane, I think, Weibo game should win, and minus 2,000, yeah. So, but I'll still kind of see how what the metrics are telling us just to make sure. Huge jungle control advantage, laning phase, Baron Nashor, Dragon, First Blood, gold spin percentage. Yeah, so I think they should win prediction, but then are they gonna score well? That's the ultimate question for DFS purposes, right? So CKPM, it looks like it is gonna be at 0.78. So the lowest of all three LPL matchups. So I think it's decent for cash game, obviously. The ownership's gonna be really high, but lowest combined kills per minute for what it's worth. So take that with a grain of salt. Because sometimes, it can go both ways. Like I said, Thundertalk is the worst team in the LPL, so they may not try and they may just go for, having fun, and they may try really hard, like by winning team fights and by like trying different strategies, and that could result in like higher kill upside. I mean, like desperate attempts, basically, that could turn into very bloodiness, more bloodiness. But I just feel like just looking at the metrics though, on average, seems pretty low, and Weibo Gaming should win handedly. So yeah, we'll see. All right, let's go to LCK. I have the expected lineups, expected starters. I listed the expected starter the first if there is a substitute in that position. So like Live Sandbox versus Guangdong Freaks. Guangdong Freaks is a slight favorite. So today in the LCK, there are only two slight favorites. So Sandbox, Dove's probably going to start in top lane, and then Croco closer. Envy is probably going to start at 80 carry because he's been starting. But Ice is actually pretty close. I'd say Envy and Ice are like 60-40, 60 being Envy. And then Dove and Howling, I'd say Dove being like 80, and then Howling being 20. substitute risk. But like I said, we'll most likely get this starter confirmation by 1 o'clock, 1:30 at the latest, I think, Eastern time. So anyway, and then Guangdong Freaks Keen LM has been pretty bad, just letting you guys know. Fate and Teddy. Teddy's probably gonna start. Like I said, it's probably gonna be like 80-20 situation as well. 80 being Teddy, and then Hoyt probably gonna be like 90, and then Mapsy 10. So there is some substitution risk. But for what it's worth, I think the same five's gonna start. Freaks has been really bad, like a KDF. But they're the favorite because Sandbox has been pretty bad too. So let's look at the stats now that we have looked at the rosters. I usually go to LCK, Spring here, Sandbox, and Freaks. Like I said, always the first metric that I look at is the jungle control percentage. Sandbox advantage at 3.6%. And I like Croco. He won the Rookie of the Year in the LCK last season. LM has been struggling, like I said. 41 is really bad, and 44 is pretty bad too. But let's look at what that kind of compares to in the whole league. Freaks is 41. Sandbox 44. So they're not that much better either. So, but Freaks is dead last. That is not good. Element, they don't even have a substitute jungler, so that's a bad situation to be in. All right, let's look at other metrics. So far, I have Sandbox winning. Laning phase, again, Sandbox is the favorite. They both play 4 games. I want to see who they played after this. So let's look at this. All right, looks like to me. Oh, that's really bad. Average goal difference at 15 minutes. So they have this metric for LCK matchups on this website, Oracle Elixir, which is the stat database that I look at, that I go to look at the stats and metrics. But that's really bad. Minus 2726. That means they were behind almost 3,000 gold at 15 minutes on average. That's really bad. And then mid to late game rating is Sandbox is better. Early game rating, Sandbox is better. So everything Sandbox, almost everything Sandbox is better, except for the goal difference. I want to see why, because that could be some opponent, because they play against like a really elite teams like T1 or T1. I think that's the only elite team in the league so far. Genji too, absolutely. Okay, let's see who they play against. First, Sandbox has played against. They played 4 games so far in the split. They played against DRX, who's been terrible too, and then Nongshim is good. So yeah, I understand why they lost, because Nongshim's good. Guangdong Freaks, they played against T1. And then KT Roaster, yeah, KT Roaster has been okay. Let's look at the goal difference at 15 minutes metric, see how they line up. So Sandbox is dead last in that. So they must have had a really bad series against Nongshim, or maybe Nongshim, probably. So game 1, they lost by 10K gold. Croco played decent. 10K gold. And then 11K gold in the second matchup. But low in kills. And then they played against DRX. They won. I want to see Guangdong Freaks against KT Roaster. Okay. So looks like KT Roaster beat them by, wow, 14K. Holy shit. That's pretty bad. 12. All right. Guangdong Freaks is bad. Really bad. Are you saying that Sandbox is not a favorite? Wow. That is very surprising because I'm picking Sandbox to win. I'm sorry. Live Sandbox upsets two. I'm willing to go as far as 2-0. I believe in Croco. Average CKPM. Yeah, that's surprising. I think LM's that bad. I want to see if there's any clear lane advantage. Keen, I mean, he's good, but he hasn't been playing well this split. So I say that's not a clear advantage. Closer and Fate, I mean, I think that's wash. Fate used to be good, and he's playing against his old team in Sandbox, but he hasn't been playing that well either. In the bottom lane, I think it's a wash. I think Envy and KL has been playing pretty well. So I do think it's gonna come down to Croco and LM, and I think Croco is so much better. So yeah. Sorry, Freaks supporters, but I think your season might be over unless they bring in a new jungler. But you may not have to worry about it for DFS purposes because this is a very lowly projected matchup, 0.63 CKPM. So that's, for what it's worth. That's where I'm at. All right, let's see. Let's go into the last matchup of the slate, second LCK matchup, for which we will not get the starter confirmation. But I'm pretty sure KT is gonna start Rascal, cause Arya aiming in life, because I want to see if KT Roaster played with any of their backups and their wins. Very commanding wins, at least in game 2. They played Cuz, not Gideon. Cuz played 1-1 and 9. That's pretty good too. Yeah, I mean he had a good game, good series. So I fully expect Cuz to start. So don't worry about Gideon. But then who knows? It's LCK. And then Nongshim is gonna start these 5, I think. Peter's gonna end up starting, I think, again, because he's been playing well. I don't think they're gonna mess that up by starting effort again. I think Peter's gonna end up starting again. Ghost and Peter seem like they have a pretty good synergy. Then Nongshim has been playing really well. So, and I think KT just won against we just talked about, I think it was Guangdong Freaks, or was it? No, KT just beat Hanwha Life. Hanwha Life is the worst team, I think, talent wise. So I'm not gonna give them that much credit. So, but let's look at lastly what the metrics tell us. KT Roaster actually has been pretty good in jungle. Wow. 53.4 is really good. They are the 3rd best jungle control team in the league. That is very surprising. Cuz has been playing well. Okay. But Nongshim Red Force is right behind them. So I think that's close enough that we need to look at other metrics. 0.7. Yeah, KT has been pretty damn good stat-wise, except for goal difference here. The mid-game rating. Yeah, this is a closer matchup than people may think because of how convincing Nongshim's wins have been recently. So let's look at who they have played, and then we'll make a prediction. But combined kills per minute, it looks like it's 0.64, so that's low as well. And given the lack of the clear favorites on this slate for LCK, unlike last night, I do think people are gonna shy away from these teams, which naturally makes it for good GPP purposes. But then the kill upside is really not there, unless obviously there's always an outlier. So, um, but if I have to guess which LCK game is gonna be more bloody, it's gonna have to be this KT versus Nongshim, just based on the recent form that both of these teams have been in. So I think this is gonna be a more bloody LCK matchup. So I think that makes it for a better GPP play, higher ceiling. KT has played against Damwon Kia, obviously pretty good team. Guangdong Freaks, they won 2-0. Hanwha Life 2-0. Like I said, Freaks, these teams are bad. So I'm not gonna give KT that much credit because they beat the two worst teams in the LCK. Nongshim has played against Hanwha Life and they lost. I think they were just trying to figure things out because they got a new roster, completely new roster, by the way, like completely new, all like 5 new individuals coming together as a team. So I understand why they lost the first series, but then they kind of came together, started coming together in the second series of the season against Sandbox. Sandbox, I think, is a pretty good team. Like I said, I think they're gonna pull off an upset tonight. So I do think highly of them. And then Damwon Kia, they just beat them 2-1. So yeah, I think Nongshim's gonna win. I'm not hugely impressed with KT's stats because they were inflated by the fact that they played against two worst teams in the LCK. So it's actually a pretty easy prediction for me, I think. LNS wins 2. Let's do 2-1. But I do think it'll be more bloody matchup than the other LCK matchup. So anyway, so that's all I got for you guys today. That's my prediction and combined kills per minute, which measures the kill upside for these teams. It kind of helps you to determine what stacks to use and what players to stack. So anyway, and then for player stats, obviously you can go here and then, you can kind of see what each player's kill participation and kill share percentages and kind of build your lineup accordingly. If you guys have any questions, let me know. You can, DM me on Twitter or on Discord. And if you like the video, please hit the like button here below and then subscribe to our channel. This is sponsored by True DFS, and they're a great group of guys who offer advice in every single sport that you can imagine and in the DFS world. So feel free to check those out as well. And if you guys have any questions, let me know. Thanks.